Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world. How are y'all doing today? I'm sure y'all doing great. Joining me today, speaking of which, I'm sorry. So Maria Flint will not be joining us today, and taking her place will be the lovely Johni Cruse, Craig. She was so sweet to join me, and I really appreciate that. Of course, y'all, if that sounds familiar, she was on last week. And I thank you for showing up and being here. Okay. Shout out to the Cruse family. Shout out to good old Chef Blue and his wife, Jasmine, along with the Alive Five, which includes Madison, the twins, Chloe and Avery, Bailey, and last but not least, Lulu. Joining us tonight, we welcome Dr. Sonya Strider, founder of Ginny's acronym P.O.R.C.H, P.O.R.C.H Foundation, Inc. Creator of the Beyond the Sunshine, say that 10 times, Sunshine Mother's Day Brunch for ladies who have lost a mother and or a child. She currently works at the CDC. We'll have a question or two about that. She'll be sharing powerful insights on mental health and grief, purpose, service, and building communities you don't want to miss. As always, before we start, we always do a little prayer. I definitely want to keep Maria Flint in our prayers. Her mother had a stroke, and she's doing good from what I've heard. She's getting better and better. And I too, my mother had a stroke probably about a month ago, and miraculously, all praises, like it never even happened.
Look at God.
So yes, that's right. Look at God, all praises. So glory unto the Creator and Heavenly Father. We greatly appreciate you and all your healing and all your dealings and that you do. We continue to just be thankful for what you do, and we try our best not to complain. And just remind us. I remember driving down the street. I complained. I pulled my hamstring. And in the midst of me complaining, you made me see a person with one leg. And I said, okay, yeah, I'm going to shut up. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Keep us all lifted up. All praises. Hallelujah. This lady to my left is, go ahead and tell who you are.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Sonya Strider. I am a public health professional. I'm a certified grief counselor and community advocate, and I'm just delighted to be here. Glad that you invited me, and so happy to be here.
Well, I am so glad that you came today. You also joined us at the last minute. We had, I forgot the beautiful lady's name, but she was supposed to join us, and because of you made this happen. So she joined us at the last minute, and I really appreciate you coming from the bottom of our hearts. I really appreciate that. Where do we start?
Well, first, I do want to say thank you, and thank y'all for the opportunity.
Yes.
Maria, in her absence, really appreciate her trusting me to sit here with you in this moment.
Yes.
And thankful for the opportunity to have people to be able to, hey, dial a number, they pick up and say, hey, because you know what they're doing for the community. So just excited to be here. And I think we can start there. I think Dr. Strider has an array of things she can talk about, but I know that community service and Ginny's P.O.R.C.H and grief is her heart. So if we can even start with why Ginny's P.O.R.C.H and what Ginny's P.O.R.C.H is.
Yeah, because I'm kind of, I definitely want to know what the acronym stands for.
Yes. Absolutely. So, just like everything else that, founded out of necessity or the, what happens to you or what impacts your life. So about 10 years ago, my mother passed away. And 9 months later, my father passed away. And in an effort to deal with my own grief, I found the Grief Recovery Network and then the Grief Recovery Method, rather. I started doing grief counseling through them, and then I thought I could do this for other people, right? So I got certified to work with grief, found out that is really my heart work. Never would have thought it. I would have never, ever, ever, as they say, thunk it. Never. but it's something I absolutely love. And to just, I started the Mother's Day brunch. So Beyond the Sunshine, all of our ancestors who are no longer with us are beyond the sunshine. And so
like
the
that.
Ginny, my mother's name was Geneva, and all her friends called her Ginny. And the porch, the acronym P.O.R.C.H, my mother loved her front porch. And growing up, my sister and I were just kind of talking about this, and we came up with the P.O.R.C.H as the place of comfort, refuge, comfort, and hope. So the place of refuge, comfort, and hope, P.O.R.C.H, because everybody, our friends, her friends, the neighborhood, always stopped at her porch, right? So they stopped at her porch. They talked about life. They talked about what was happening, what was going on, So I always say, if you lost a love or found a love, you could get comfort on my mother's porch. If you lost a job or found a job, you could get comfort on her porch. If you needed a good laugh, you could get comfort on her porch. So that's what we wanted the foundation to be, was a place where we could comfort and, protect and cover people. So that's how we came up with Porch.
I'm sure it was more than just a porch, right? It was the kitchen too, right?
Well, so it was the kitchen, because she was an outstanding cook. But
Throw
her
down.
porch,
Right.
she would come in the house, change her clothes, and go sit on the porch. In fact, one time she had been very ill, so she lived in Virginia, and my sister and I live here. But she had been very ill, and the neighbors called and said, something must be wrong with your mother, because she's not on the porch. And so, we're calling. So I'm like, go over there and knock on the door, go. And sure enough, she had been kind of down with the flu for, a few days, but they knew that if she didn't come outside, there was something going on. So that was that place where we all gathered. And so there was a friend who came over during her funeral time, and she asked to go to the bathroom. So, she's been our friend for like her and my mother nearly grew up together. And I was like, well, you know where it is, in the house. And she said, I've never been inside. I said, what? She said, because every time I come over here, your mom's on the porch. So we stop, we sit here, we talk, we chat. She might fix some food and bring it to the porch. And, she, fry a little chicken and, do a little something, but bring it to the porch. So that was the place that everybody knew. Everybody knew the porch. So people knew that something was wrong. People knew that she had moved because the porch didn't look the same.
Sounds like a true matriarch.
Yeah.
True. We need more, Lord. We need more like that.
That's how we came up with the Porch Foundation.
So in grief, what is the approach to grief?
The approach to grief, I talk about, and Dr. Cruse Craig here, we always talk about our heart work, right? And so I think when you approach people who are grieving, and even in your own grief, it's your heart, right? It's your heart that's hurting. And if your finger were cut, or if you broke a leg, you would get help for that, right? You wouldn't just sit here and bleed to death, or you wouldn't sit here in pain when you broke a bone. You would get help for that. So the approach that I have in most, grief counselors is because you have to have a level of compassion, right? And so, and offering a place for people to just be able to be. Because so often, and particularly us people of color, we hold it in because we were told that we have to be what? Strong, right?
Right.
And there is absolutely no truth to that. You can be as weak as you want to be, right, and as you need to be, right? Because you need to, there's a gospel song called Gracefully Broken.
Okay.
Right? So, when you experience a death, that's monumental, no matter what it is, who it was, and that's a whole big change. And so you are broken. Often, and we don't want to say those things. So the approach that I usually, tell my clients is to first be vulnerable and allow yourself to be vulnerable, right? To allow yourself to say, I'm not okay. And that's usually the hardest for many of us to say is, I'm not okay. And once you admit that,
right,
then you can really start to work on your grief.
Do you think that's more of a male thing? You get more males that try to do that old macho thing. I'm okay. Leave me alone.
Certainly our men, hold it down for the brothers. Certainly they, have this, persona that they have to keep up. But, but so often, but our black women, because we are trying to be the superwoman. So how do you grieve and take care of the kids? How do you say, I don't feel like cooking. I'm not making up the bed. I don't even want to get out of the bed, let alone make it up.
Right.
And so, I think that collectively as a people, we've never really had a space and an opportunity to express our hurt, whatever that is, because that's what grief is. It's hurt, when your heart hurts. But, for our black men, how do we hold up the family? How do we, we have to be strong. But I'm so glad that now so many places are embracing the fact. So many, I shout out to Pastor E. Dewey Smith. I'm not a member of the Greater Travelers Rest. However, he talks a lot about grief. He has done it on a lot of podcasts and talking about grief and how men, and how, grieving when he lost his mother, when he lost his grandmother, his best friend, and how that brought him to his knees and to be able to say, I'm not okay. So for our men to be able to look at other men, say, it's all right to say, I'm not okay. And then have a place,
That's it.
Where they can go and talk to other men about, I'm not okay. And it's having that space, and that's what Ginny's P.O.R.C.H Foundation is. That is what the Beyond the Sunshine Mother's Day Brunch is. It is a place for women who have lost not just their mothers or children, any significant female, but not even that, because whatever makes Mother's Day different for you, Dr. Cruse Craig has been coming since she lost her husband, right? Because Mother's Day is different, and I'm sure that he celebrated Mother's Day, so it's different. And so when you have to embrace that, what do you do? And so, we have this brunch. We started out small. We have grown over the years. This year's our 5th year coming up, but it is a place where women can come, they can breathe, they can cry, they can laugh, they can dance. We have some dynamic speakers. We have really good food because, see, I'm a fat girl, and fat girls be liking to have really good food.
Big back, big back,
so,
big back.
You know what I'm saying? Big back behavior. So we have really good food. We have just built a community of women to come. And, so grief is everywhere. You lose something every day. Every day. Grief is all the time.
Say that.
It is. And I want to just amplify something that you said. This very last thing you said, it's a community that you built with the Beyond the Sunshine Brunch. And that's the part that I think that's important, because as we talk about grief and as you counsel people, you got to first build community, right? To make people be in a space to be vulnerable, because people are not going to show up and be vulnerable off the rip. That's, that's just real. And especially men.
Right.
So I think there's a need that we've even identified before now, but even as we're talking about here, there's a need for men to come and say, I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
Right.
Right. There's a need for men to be able to come and express their grief. We have a lot of communities being built for women, but there's not as many accessible and available to men.
Yeah.
So I think as we talk to the community about what's going on in the community, especially talking to Dr. Strider around grief, that's something that the community needs to take away. Yeah. We need more spaces for men to say, I'm not okay. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Would you agree, JayFo-SaySo?
Well, JayFo-SaySo. I just think that whole macho thing is just going to always stand in our way. I don't think that we'll ever. First and foremost, I want to say this: if you're grieving, it's your right to grieve, however you so choose.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Never stand in somebody's way that is grieving. If they want to scream, cry, holler, stay out of their way. Don't be don't be hypocritical and telling them what they ought to be doing. All right. Let them grieve the way they want to grieve. But I think our macho just always stands in the way. I mean, look at the church. It's filled with women, so. And guys
I
don't
hear
really
you.
come.
Yeah.
I hear you, but I also say, because we're talking solution based, it is the macho that is out in the way. But where do we start? What do we create? Where do we create these communities for men to be invited in and feel safe to let that shell down, right?
Yeah.
To be able to open up and feel the feels, because what do we say? You cannot feel what you do not reveal.
Right.
That's right.
So men need spaces to be able to reveal authentically.
Yes, and I agree. I think that that's actually one of the things I've been talking about. People ask me a lot, why isn't the brunch, open to men? And, I said, nah, I ain't never kept a man out. If he can come on in. However, I want it to be a place where whoever comes in can feel comfortable grieving. And I know that, men feel more comfortable around other men, because they certainly probably not about to come through a room full of women and cry, right? But around other men that can say, you know what, hey, I lost my mother too, or I lost my father, or I lost my wife, or, whatever, I lost a child. But to have that community, and I've been talking, kind of with some other like male therapists and people to figure out how, I could help us to build that community where we can start, right? We started the Mother's Day brunch. I think the first year was about, 60 people. And now we are close to 200. A couple years we've been over 200. Things just sometimes kind of schedules kind of conflict, where we don't always have the same people. However, having that place that you can look forward to, and I think particularly for men, that, whether, I know that the barber shops, kind of have that feel, but an intentionally cultivated. Like I would love to see, a barber intentionally cultivate that atmosphere. Every Wednesday, Monday, whatever night, you know what, we not even, you just come on in and this is what we're talking about.
Right.
Or this is what we're doing. And, you just show up. You can get a haircut or not, but you just show up. And this is what we're doing, because one will come, then they'll tell somebody else, and they'll tell somebody else. When I was thinking of the brunch, I talked myself out of it for, I don't know, three years at least, right? I thought nobody would come. And, one day I just kept saying, God, I really want to do this. Like, I know I have friends, many of my friends whose mothers have passed away. We like to entertain. And, I kept saying, God, I really want to do this. And I tell the story all the time. One morning when I was sitting up and getting dressed, and I was like, I really, really just want to do it, but I don't know if people will come, and I don't know, how it will be received. And clear as day, now I'm halfway heathen, so I don't all the time hear God, saying
halfway
stuff.
All right.
Sometimes I'm a heathen, but clear as day, right? I heard God say, build it and people will come. Right? And so I left literally, and this is no exaggeration, that day. Because how Black people do stuff. We do stuff when we get our income tax check.
Come on now.
So I had gotten my income tax check, and I said, I'm going to find a location today. And it can't be more than this amount, right? Because this is what I got. And I'm going to pay for the location myself, right? Because I don't also ever want it to be unaffordable for people, who need it.
But before you go further, though, tell us where, what, when, where.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely. So this year we are pleased to be at Privy Stonecrest. It's at Stonecrest Mall. We are pleased to be there. We had to do a location change, and Privy opened their doors, so we are delighted to be at Privy. It's going to be on April 25th. It's always the fourth Saturday of April. I don't want to change that date so that people can pencil it in. It's Atlanta and people get busy. So it's always the fourth Saturday of April to kind of prepare you for Mother's Day. All the cards are out, all those things are happening. So it is from 10 to 1 at Privy Center on April 25th. And one of the signature things we do, Jay, at the end is we do a butterfly release. So our butterfly release is a powerful, powerful expression of a couple things, right? It's a powerful expression of renewal. it's also a powerful expression of remembrance. And what we, usually talk about is, letting that butterfly go and carry the message that we want to send to whomever our loved one is. And the butterfly flies off. Okay. And so we do that. That's our signature activity, at the end of our brunch. So we end with that every year. So we have food, we have music, we have laughs, we have hugs, we have, a few vendors selling a few wares and selling a few things. So everything that makes up we don't have mimosas though.
So the heathen
alcohol,
stops there.
Right. The heathenness stops there, right. Yeah. But everything that makes up a good brunch, right? A good Atlanta brunch, we have that.
Well, the Bible say be not drunk with wine.
Well, I mean, there's
now
communion.
where can they get these here tickets?
And you can
right.
You can absolutely get the tickets. You can visit A Place for the Heart, APLACE, the number 4 THEHEART.com is my website. And you can visit A Place for the Heart. You can go to Jenny's Porch Foundation and you can get your tickets for the brunch. Or you can, look me up on Facebook, Beyond the Sunshine Brunch, Beyond the Sunshine on Facebook. On Instagram, it is A Place for the Heart. And you can get tickets there as well.
All right.
Awesome. Well, you got that, ladies and gentlemen. And again, joining me today, don't mess with your screen. It's the beautiful Johni Cruse Craig. All right. Maria could not make it with us. And so I got a question for you about mental health.
Okay. I might have an answer.
Okay. Well, let's hope that you do. Now, in mental health, do you think it differs from, let's say, the 70s to now? And why?
Differs in the mental health condition, right, or the numbers people who get help?
Right. No, I mean like the numbers, like the extremism.
Well, I mean, I think that just like anything else, many other conditions and health conditions with the advancements in technology and medicine and those things that now we have something to call it, right? I don't know that there are necessarily more people who are suffering mental health, necessarily. There are things in I would say environmental factors that maybe contribute, there's traumas and there, different things like that. But before really calling it something, and particularly in our community, people used to say, well, he a little touched, right, or, they got something wrong with them.
Or they need to lay hands on them.
Right. Right. We pray it away.
Right.
They just a little slow.
But with that, excuse me for interrupting, but let me jump right in. But with that being said now, because I have a friend of mine, Dr. Williams, I'll call her, and we had this little talk. Mm-hmm. And so I was saying, I don't agree with medicine. It's a spirit. Why can't we just pray this off of that person? What do you think about that? Do you think medicine is effective?
I think medicine is absolutely effective. I also think that therapy is effective. I think that, now here we go. Now we're going to have this conversation, Jay. So God created.
Come on now.
God created therapists. God created medications, and anything and everything. If you don't use it correctly, if you don't use it right, everything don't work for everybody either, right? But I think that you can have God. Listen to me now.
I'm listening.
You can have God and a therapist.
Okay.
And it's even better if you have a Christian therapist,
all right,
if that's your belief, right? So that they work hand in hand. So they are going to talk to you in a way and talk with you in a way that you're most receptive, right? So if I'm a Christian, I'm not going to go to, somebody who going to be saying, well, it's not going to talk in the language that speaks to my heart, right?
And I want to amplify something both of you are talking about, because you're talking about God and the therapist, and I totally agree. But you said something about medicine, right?
Right.
So I want to bring in that we need to Because one of the things I believe in, I'm going back to the community because I know the purpose of this podcast, right?
Come on
It's
now.
for community service, the community work, us working together. So for the community, I think education and awareness is a place that we lack,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And even down to statistics, understanding the why, what's going on, so on and so forth. So we're talking about mental health, we're talking about God, we're talking about therapists, but we can't leave out psychiatrists because
Right.
that's really where the medicine comes in.
That's where the medicine comes, yeah.
So you can have someone that believes in God, got faith, got the therapist, but if they have a chemical imbalance that requires medicine, you can't get what you need until you get a psychiatrist,
Right.
which is something that a lot of people, we start talking about mental health and the taboo of it, but we don't get deep into the treatment.
Right.
And sometimes that's needed.
Oh, yeah. It is needed. I mean, and to your point, Dr. Cruse Craig, if you have, so we talked about this earlier, so since we had talked about it, I'll just go on and pull it out.
Okay.
So I'm a diabetic.
Diabetical.
I'm diabetical.
All right.
I have been since I was 9 years old.
Tell a story.
So at 9 years old, I went into a diabetic coma. I was in a coma for almost 2 weeks, right? The doctors told my mother, we're going to expect the worst, pray for the best, right? My mother was a praying woman, right?
Okay.
So after being in a coma for, almost over a week, I went to the hospital with a glucose of 1900,
Okay.
right? So they say that's not compatible with life, right?
Facts.
So here I am. Here I is. Hello.
Don't forget the conjunction word. But.
But right.
All right. All right.
And
But
and as you know, when I was in that coma and had been sick and my mama didn't know it, they told my mother, she's been in a coma for so long, we don't know how she'll come out, right? If she comes out and how she'll come out. Maybe she'll have, some developmental delays, after this, because, we don't know how long she was down, how long, I passed out. However, I stand here with my insulin pump, my medicine,
Your medicine.
a PhD, right?
Tell them what PhD
So,
stands for.
right.
Now, go ahead.
I have 4 degrees,
All right.
4 college degrees, and
Quattro.
that's not a brag, right? That's just saying that, so we talked about singing, so there's a song that say, they said I wouldn't make it,
All right. Harmonious.
So,
All
you know
right.
what I'm saying?
Come on now.
But so if I am a diabetic and I don't take this medicine, I tell you, I will absolutely die. So if you have a mental health condition, why would you not treat that if it required medication? Why would you not treat that chemical imbalance so that you could then live a full life, right? Now, I could not take this, but I promise you, it ain't going to end well, right? All kinds of things. Now, I might not die tomorrow, but it won't be long. Right. Because on top of that, my health declining, right? So kidneys, losing limbs, eyesight, all of those things that make my quality of life. Well, if I don't take this, all of that goes out the window. I nobody, I don't know if people live over there, don't send me nothing about the little plant or the whatever, because I'm not doing that and that don't work for me. However, if you don't take your medicine, how do you expect to get better, right? And so we talk about, I'm not going to take medicine for this, or I'm not going to take medicine for that. And I think people absolutely have a right to choose, however whatever your belief is and whatever but I think a lot about, particularly there's that taboo around medications that treat mental health. Yep. And I say, but if something else were wrong with you, wouldn't you take your medication? If you had a headache, you'd be looking for the, where's the Tylenol or the BC powder or the whatever.
But can we actually compare aspirin to, let's say, Xanax or whatever medication is out there?
It's what ails you, right? So because why would I not? And maybe Xanax isn't what you need, right? So just like anything else, sometimes it's a trial and an error, right? Even with this, right? There's certain kinds of insulin I can't take. I have an allergy to some kind of insulin, right? Okay. So there's certain kinds of insulin, but we didn't know that. We didn't know it until after I took it, and I said, hey, these things are happening. I have hypertension. I was taking my blood pressure medicine, and I was coughing like I had, the plague or something. Mm-hmm. I was allergic to that medicine, right? I didn't know that until I called my doctor up, because that's what happens when you work closely with your medical professional, right? So with your psychiatrist, who is a medical professional, when you work closely with them and you have a partnership, right, with your medical professional, I call mine up. I'd be like, listen, girl, what you gave me don't work. And then she say, come on in. Let's, try something different. It's the same with your psychiatrist and your therapist, so they should work hand in hand. Absolutely. And your medical doctor. Absolutely. So all of these, a holistic approach, right? And your pastor,
but can we call medicine holistic though?
Yeah, we can. Yeah.
Can we?
Medicine, we want
medicine. Yeah. All right. Because I always thought the holistic thing was like the plant avenue, the plant-based avenue.
Holistic is the lens and perspective in which you're looking and seeing.
Woo.
Right.
So it is the holistic of the totality of us, from the head to the toes, all of us, like totally.
Holistic. Yeah. Right.
But I want to bring something out really quickly, because you were talking about, we went down the medicine road, talking about mental health, talk about therapy, psychiatry, medicine, right? Just talking about all that. Then we got into your testimony with the diabetes. Now, with all of that, how does that play into your career? Let's share some of what you do in public health and how this conversation just really led to that. And you see how she got passionate about that?
On, that's why the drum roll. Drum roll. That's a great question.
Yeah. So I am a public health professional, and I have a few degrees.
And you work where?
I do work for the nation's largest public health agency. But one of the things that I have a degree in is health education and community health, right? So my master's degree and my PhD are in public health with a concentration in health education and community health. And I am passionate about that because so often we don't have people who look like us who can talk about what's happening to us and our community in a way that we can receive it, right? So I don't care what anybody says.
Say that.
I don't care what kind of labels they give it.
Right.
It's a way that I'm going to talk to Dr. Cruse Craig about what's going on with me, like, hey, girl, such and such. And it's a way that I'm going to talk to you, brother, did you know about whatever?
Right.
And the way that someone else will come and talk. So I am very passionate about educating the community and making sure that we have the information that we need. Now, currently I work in violence prevention, actually, where we collect data about violent deaths all over the U.S. and 52 states we collect data from. But we use that data to inform prevention measures and community activities and things like that. But it is to be able to talk to people about what we are experiencing, and then to be able to add, even if because even if I don't ever change your mind about whatever you feel about medicine, like you feel about medicine, but to have a different way to think about it is partly why I got into public health, because we need to see people, representation. I don't care what nobody says, representation matters, right? And so we need to see people who are passionate about our community and who are passionate about communities, because not just our community, but communities, because understanding that we all flow everywhere, right? So we ain't just all over here. So whatever is happening over there also affects our community. And it affects, we're still flowing. We're ebbing and flowing in and out. And so just to make sure that somebody can see somebody that looks like them talk about these things and understand some of our apprehensions, right? So I understand why we don't trust medicine.
What is the ingredients list for starting a community?
For starting a community?
If we need to start all over, what is the list? What is the list?
One.
I'm going to.
One.
Come on.
One voice, right?
Unity.
One voice and unity.
One.
Right.
That's a song.
So if
I
one
know about
person
that.
stands up, right? If I say, because you know how you think about in school, right? Everybody probably was okay with the school lunch till the one person stood up and said, "This nasty."
All right.
Then everybody else stands like, I don't even like this, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah. This. So if one person has the courage to stand up and say, or the passion, the fortitude to stand up and say, hey, this is happening over here.
Okay.
Then you get other people. You talk to people.
And this is so good. I'm so glad you asked the question. I think that was a great question. And I'm glad that the answer was unity. Because that brings me to the conversation again. Y'all know where I'm going back to what? Community, because that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So as we're talking about that and your answer and your question, I want to lift up collaboration.
Yes.
And also the fact, and what would you tell the listeners today? And shout out to everybody out there, hey, but what would you tell the listeners today when they have something that's dropped in their spirit or in their head or an idea, and they be like, oh, but so-and-so doing it. How would you encourage the community to not stand on that, yet stand on collaboration, show up to other places to learn, collaborate, and grow? Because it takes all of us. I don't care who's doing it, but I'm going to yield to you to give some encouragement and share about that.
I think that's a great question. And, don't compete, collaborate, right? So there are enough, so for instance, I started the Beyond the Sunshine Brunch, and certainly there are other people who had some brunches for, mothers, and now, there are other people now who've seen mine, and now they, want to whatever. However, it's a needed thing. Right?
Absolutely.
So we don't have to compete. We can collaborate. We can help build. And when you build a community, to your point, so when we come together and we identify this problem that's affecting our community, where I may not have the strength, she has the strength in this. Like Dr. Cruse Craig has absolutely marvelous ideas in marketing and how to reach people. And, I might have I know how to do this. When we come together, then we've built something that is open, that we have a lens from different angles to be able to almost combat, or at least be able to approach everything. So, like when she was saying, men don't have a place to go. Okay, men don't have a place. I have the grief knowledge to how to do the programming. She's got the idea. We talk to somebody else. I just said, it was Barbara, shout out and call us up, because I think we got something for them, right? So then we got a collaboration, and we got a program
that builds a community.
All right.
Because you already got the people.
And it doesn't become cumbersome on one entity
person
or one organization or one group, because all of us have our callings, our purpose, and our giftings. But, and I must say this, until ego moves out of the way and purpose arises, we'll continue in this hamster wheel that we're in. We got to move self out of the way. We got to rise up, be who we were called to be. We got to connect and move in unity, because that's what we were called to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree.
This is the time. We don't have a lot of time to waste. Would y'all agree?
We do not have time to waste. And if we don't do it together, and if we don't do it, who is?
So there are a lot of men out there that are willing and able. Now, we all come together. Who leads? Oh, they there now, Queen. They there.
I had to do that to you.
They there. They
who
there.
lead? Well, who you mean who leads? Well,
who leads?
I ain't gonna say what you mean who leads.
Who leads?
I believe in any situation, a man is a leader and a woman is a leader, and I think we can work together.
True enough.
I think that we have to yield to what is being said and be active listeners.
Okay.
I believe everyone brings certain things to the table that need to be there, a piece of the puzzle, be it man or woman. But in anything, there is a divine order. Okay. There's man, woman, children. We know we all know this. So I think when we bring everybody together, that's one thing that we got to shift mindsets into. We don't have to worry about who the chief is. We got to worry about showing up doing what we were called to do. do.
Right.
Okay.
And everybody has a role, right?
There's order though, right?
There's an
Oh,
order.
yeah, there's definitely order. So you're going to have a natural leader, right? You're going to have a program director or a program manager. Might be a man, it might be a woman. However, we all have the same lens.
right.
We're looking through the same place, going in the same
Right.
direction with someone leading us, more than one leader sometimes,
Right.
because you got to cipher off into different
Right.
groups. Come together, say where you're going, go back, do your work, and keep it moving. That's where you get sustainable impact.
I
Got
agree.
it.
I definitely
now,
agree.
there's a bump in the middle of the night, right?
What you mean?
You and I, let's hypothetically speaking, there's a bump in the middle of the night. We're in the bed. Do you get up and see what's going on, or do you wake me up to go see what's going on?
I mean, I think, again, that's a lot of variables. If we both sleep and you wake, you're going to get up, go check that out.
Right.
You
But
gonna wake
say-
me up though, right?
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
wake you
Absolutely
up.
gonna wake you up. I ain't going to the door.
Now, before y'all think I'm being
I'm going with something else, but
right. But you gonna wake me up.
Facts.
Gotcha. Now, I'm just reaching,
Here you go.
just doing what I do. But however, I want to say this, that now in the Egyptian days, the thrones were the same size. There was not one higher than the other. So I want you ladies to know that the thrones were equal. So whatever that means.
Well, one of them was probably closer to the door.
Which one was that though?
The one that was supposed to go when you hear the bump in the night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if that note, we got about 20 minutes left. And again, I am joined by, you got me all messed up, Cruse Craig. You see what I'm saying?
Cruse.
You see what I'm saying?
Jacquez, y'all hear that?
Cruse, yes, please. Because I met Jacquez. Jacquez stands about
okay, right,
6'4".
yes. Okay,
Don't do that to
Eh,
Jacquez.
Got a
Listen.
big, strong handshake. Man, God.
I don't think Jacquez plays the radio. So
No, of course he don't,
Y'all are funny.
do it.
No, he don't. No. I respect the queen, but I'm too old to fight. So
So, but okay, so let's get back. We got off a little bit because JaySo took us to the
Right, yeah,
pyramids.
JayFo.
Right.
All right. I just want y'all to know that it was equal back in those days, somewhat anyway.
So we were talking about collaboration, and I think we're on this the latter part of this conversation. You said we got about 20 minutes left.
20 more minutes.
20 more minutes. So where do we want to shift it to? Like, we're talking about solutions. We've been talking about solutions along the way. We've talked about what you do as a grief counselor. We've talked about your career. We've talked about your heart work. We've talked about the grief of your mom, your testimony. We've covered a lot
Yeah, we
around
have.
with you, Dr.
Yeah.
Strider. So I want to shift for just a little bit because I think our community needs to hear this piece of the conversation.
Okay.
Say
Dr.
it.
Strider also has a daughter. And she
do.
has a unique story that goes along with her daughter that I think our community sometimes don't actively listen to these type of conversations as solutions to some of the community things that's going on. So, Dr. Strider, if you don't mind speaking to your beautiful daughter, Destiny, and how that came about.
I like the way you led, by the way. See
So
what I
I
mean?
do have a daughter. She is now 26. I adopted Destiny when she was 6. We talk openly about adoption. We advocate for adoption and foster care and all of those things. For many, many, many years, I was the favorite auntie. So I did lots of stuff with my sister's kids. And I don't know. I think I woke up one day and I might have been having a midlife crisis. I don't know. My niece was 16, I think, and I have done so much stuff with her. So then she was 16, and I don't know, like she was like, you thought I was going to leave home, so you went and got another kid. But I decided I was going to adopt, right? And I had, and I tell the story all the time, I'm so glad that, God gives you always what you need, right? Not what you say you want. So when I thought of adopting, I was like, well, I need to get a little child so, people will believe it's mine. And then I need to, they can't be too old because they done already started some habits and, all of these things and these ideas that you have in your head. So I had started kind of going through the process, but I was going slow because I really wasn't, it sounded good to say I'm going to adopt and so I'm going through class. So I was, but I was kind of going slow. And a friend of mine called me. She was a social worker at the time. And she said, are you finished? I was like, well, no. So she said, well, what else you have to do? So I said, I got to do this home study. And I would say this, Jay, I wasn't really down for them folk coming walking all through my house.
I know you wasn't.
Opening my closets and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. And why you got to go in the closet? But go ahead.
Right. I didn't have anything to hide, but it was it felt intrusive, right? And I was like, oh, listen, don't ask me no more questions. You don't need to know none of my friends, what? But anyway, so she was like, why didn't you get it done? Get it done, get it done. I have somebody for you. And so she showed me her. First of all, I said, well, how old is she? She said 6. I was like, oh, you ain't got her for me. Because she's 6, and I said not more than 4.
Okay.
And she was like, yep. When I saw her, I knew she would, you were the first person that came to me. I don't know why. That's what I told her. I don't know why. So then the next weekend, it moved very quickly. So the next weekend, she was like, well, you come and pick her up. Well, pick her up for what? What are we doing?
Right.
So anyway, long story short story long, about 9 months later, we adopted. So she came to live with me, to live with us probably about a month after, we had met. And my friend kept saying, yeah, you can do this. And I was like, no. However, we adopted about 9 months later, and it has been a ride and a journey. I tell people all the time, if you are considering adoption, consider an older child. Right. And the reason I say I was so glad that God gives you what you really need and not what you be saying you wanted, because after I got the 6-year-old who I could say, go ahead, get your bag and come on, let's roll. And I just drop you off at school, not go to daycare. And I ain't got to get up in the middle of the night and change no diaper. I ain't know until after I got the 6-year-old that I wasn't with that life.
Right.
So I was like, thank you, Lord, for understanding that that's not what I needed, because I like to get all my sleep at night. So I can't be waking up changing diapers and feeding and stuff. However, life gives you and life prepares you, right? Because I didn't know that I wasn't prepared until I got Destiny, and, we've had our bumps and, different things. And she, I would say, is a wonderful young woman. I still go upside her head every now and again, because I be like, listen, we ain't doing that. Now, I mean, you know how I go. However, when I see the evolution of her growth, and not just her though, me, right? Because being her mother has changed me in ways I never thought that I would change, right? Because I used to be like, oh, I'm not doing that at all. And I'm not doing this at all. And lo and behold, yeah, I was doing it. Yeah, I was doing it. But the evolution of the change of me and her, and then us together, I think that if you have ever thought about adoption, if you have ever thought about giving a child a place, a home, if you have the heart to love them through their rough places and their rough times, because let's be real, the children that we birth have rough places and rough times too, right?
That's right.
So people always say, well, they might act. Your own kids gonna act up. Them kids you birthed, they gonna act like somebody. You gonna be, I don't know who these people acting like, where they came from, who they belong to. So a lot of those fears that we have sometimes about adoption, or some of the misconceptions. Every adoption story isn't a great one. Every adoption story isn't our adoption story, right? And but our adoption story is turned out just like God intended it to. But like I say, the growth that I have had from being her mother, I probably never would have had this opportunity to be this person had I not, right? I gained patience that I never thought I had. I gained a way to communicate that I never thought I would, because I have always just been to look, this is it, and what are you questioning me for? I mean, I still do that a little bit, but but to just have the opportunity to have watched her grow from what she was doing, how she came, how we came to be a family, and what our family looks like. Yeah, if you've ever thought about adopting, I would say don't hesitate. If you think about it too long, right, you talk yourself out of things, right?
Right.
So I almost didn't have time to even really think about it, because like I said, my friend was like, listen, I got this person, and then she going to come next weekend. But what? Like, where's she going to sleep? She was like, oh, you got an extra room over there. I said, what? Okay. But, yeah.
And I think that's another nugget, too, for the community. We talked about collaborating. Don't stop doing what you want to do because somebody else already doing it. Don't compete, collaborate. We talked about that.
Yeah.
But now, too, thinking about a child, want a
Yeah.
job, do some
Yeah.
research. Go look it up. See what the next steps are. See if it works for your family. See if it works for you.
Yeah.
It's children that need homes.
There are children
So, yeah.
who need homes. There are some brilliant children out there who are in foster care. There are some children who are loving. There are some kids who would just love to be chosen,
That's
right?
good.
That would love to be chosen. And sometimes we just got to kind of get out of our own way.
Right.
You know, we got to get out of our own way.
Tell us about if there ever was, I'm sure it was, that thank you moment. Did she ever come to you and say thank you?
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, she does. She is really she probably couldn't be more like me if I had birthed her myself, right? But she's very empathetic and she has a very good heart. And so there are some times when she has said, thank you. You know, when she understands, and she does understand, 'cause like I said, she's 26. So she understands from whence she came and what is different, right? You know, she understands that, and she, you know, feels a lot. She feels a lot. She has a really big heart. But so she does say thank you to, you know, the family in general. But she jumped right in. Like I can remember the second time I picked her up, and I don't know if my friend had already coached her or maybe she had, you know, this might have been a setup. But we were riding, you know, I picked her up and we were going to our home for a visit. And she was in the back seat and she said, "Mom." And I was like, that must have been on the radio. I was like, you know. So I said, "What did you say?" And then she was like, "Well, can I call you Mom?" So then I'm like, well, now what am I going to say? You know, I can't say no.
Right.
But she did. I mean, you know, she came right in. My sister, when she came in the house, she saw my sister. She said, "Well, are you my aunt?" You know, I introduced her. I said, "This is my sister." She said, "Oh, so you're my aunt." And my sister was like, "Yeah." I guess Destiny said, "Y'all ain't about to send me away from here because I've already created, right? I've already created this family, so we doing this." But yeah, she does. She has said thank you. She recognizes, you know, that everybody doesn't get out of the system, right? She recognizes that and feels deeply, you know, for those who don't, you know, who don't get out.
She has some passion work there.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, I'm trying to help her cultivate
That's
that.
good.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
really
to
good.
where to put that.
Really
So I sometimes put her up to be like, you know, tell your story, or you can talk about. She has multiple sclerosis, and so I try to encourage her to talk about those things as well, because one is therapeutic, right? If you can talk about those,
That part.
but the other is that for other young people to see how you navigate that, right? And to see how you navigate having these things, your fears, your concerns, all of those things. So, you know, she has passion around those things too. So just trying to help her to cultivate how she talks about that and, you know, and tells her story.
That is awesome.
Well, how much time we got there? JayFo.
JayFo-SaySo. We got
JayFo.
8 minutes. 8
Okay.
minutes.
Eight minutes, dirty fresh.
We're gone.
Hey, so like, can we circle back? Can we do the
Right.
thing
I
like
do,
we
but
a
before we
U-turn?
do. But before we do, is there a book in your future?
So I have written a chapter in the book. It's called "Tried by the Storm," and there are stories from a lot of women. But I'm actually working on right now that should be done in 2 days.
Okay.
But I'm working on a grief journal that's more like a book and a workbook to go along with how do you, and you know, it's called Strength for the Journey. But it's how do you go on from here, right? So what do I do? How do I, you know, it's becoming, because once you have had a monumental loss, you're no longer the same person.
Period.
Right? And so that scares people, right? Because you try to jump right back into what your old life used to be, and that's not it, right? I'm not that same person. You might feel different. You have a whole different perspective, right? Once you've experienced a monumental loss, you don't look at things the same. People don't often understand that either, right? I'm not who I was before my mother died.
Listen.
Is it like a numb
Right.
feeling?
I mean, there's a numbness, but it's a difference, right?
It's a
because
shift in
it's a shift.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a shift in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even imagine.
You don't look at things the same
Right.
way. Once you've had a monumental loss, and let's be clear, so whether that is a job,
Talk about it, because it ain't always a person.
Right, it's
I'm so
not
glad
always
you
a
said that.
person.
Y'all listen.
Whether that's a job.
Grief
Last
comes from all of
year,
these things.
300,000 Black women lost their jobs, right? And many of those 300,000 still don't have a job today.
Right.
And we're talking people with PhDs and master's degrees and, who still don't have a job today. There's a grief there, right? That's a trauma there. And once you have experienced these things, you are not the same. So now you got a different perspective. I'm looking at things through a different lens. And even when I get a job, I might even still act like I don't have a job, in the fact of like I'm saving different now, right? I am doing things different. When there is a death, particularly like say when we talk about a spouse, so now I went from a 2-income home to a 1-income home. That's a shift. Right, so you're not the same person. So part of my book journal talks about how do you, first of all, how do you communicate that to people, right? What do you say? Because most of the time people don't know what to say to you. And so I got to lead now in my grief. I got to lead the conversation, but it's to let you know, don't not talk to me, but let me just let you know where I am.
And great question. I tell you, you flow really well. It's good.
I try to.
Right.
I try. Thank you.
I'm glad you took it back to that question, because you brought up grief, and I'm glad you brought up the journal. It's something that's coming. But I also would love for you to share with the listening audience and anybody that they can share with, what is the first step? Because don't you do some grief counseling that's free somewhere or something like that?
I do. At Redemptive Life Christian Church, which is in Conyers on Pleasant Hill Road in Conyers.
Okay.
They offer a free grief workshop once a month. I lead that. I have had the awesome opportunity to lead that for the last 6 or 7 months now. It's free. Their pastor is, so this is where we talk about the church life, right? Just really investing in the mental health, right? So their pastor feels so strongly about grief and mental health for his, parishioners, that he has this that's free for the community. So I go there once a month. It's on every second Saturday at 10 o'clock.
Second Saturday,
10 o'clock at Redemptive Life Christian Church. So I do that. And that's free to the community. But I also, so through my foundation, I also offer, last year I offer what I call a scholarship. So that's when I'll do grief sessions for free. I did 7 last year. Awesome. So I did 7 people for free last year, because I don't want that to be a barrier to you being able to get what you need to help heal your heart.
Got you.
So yeah. It's out there. It's out there. If you feel like you need to, you can always email me at aplacefortheheart@gmail.com. I will get back to you. And, we can talk about how we can work together to, get through.
Beautiful, and beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, we have about 3 minutes left. If you like what you heard today, please hit the like and subscribe button. Do both of those for us.
Like, subscribe, and share.
And share, exactly. And in doing so, come April 18th, we will have a drawing. I don't know what it is you're going to win. I mean, it's documented. I mean, ain't nobody lying. You're definitely going to get a prize.
You're going to get something.
You're going to get something. So like and subscribe. Again, man, this has been a wonderful event with Dr. Sonya Strider. Okay, let's get that right.
Right, Strider.
As well as we got
self-correct very well.
Cruse, right. Cruse, I'll be trying to read sometimes.
I'm
trying to catch up with this one across from me. This one right here, and her son, wordsmiths. Wordsmiths.
It's a God in me.
There you go.
Hey.
Speaking of which, we're gonna fade to black with it because I heard this melodious voice earlier.
That part.
And I gotta call you out on it. Let me see. Do I want to hear Yolanda
Before we
Williams
go, we
alone
got
in
a
the
couple
room?
minutes.
Go
Can I
ahead.
jump in?
Yes, you
Before
can.
you take her out, because I know you're gonna let her take us out with that melodious voice. Ain't that the word you said?
Melodious.
Melodious.
voice.
Right.
Ooh, I love it.
Okay, big word.
Just really quickly, she has so many gifts. She's a baker as well.
Are you okay?
do like to bake,
as well,
yeah,
and
yeah.
all of the
I do
things. So
like
she has a lot of gifts too. I just wanted to raise that up to show that people are multifaceted in these streets.
Yes.
Out here doing this work for these communities.
That's right.
And all the listeners chime in, share, and find your space because you're needed. Okay,
Oh,
back
yes,
to you,
absolutely.
Say so.
Everything.
All right. Hey, if you want to come on and you got a short story to tell, I mean, hey, we'll be here for you, okay? But I think I want to hear Yolanda Adams Alone in the Room. You know that one?
Alone in a room. It's just me and you. I feel so alone. And I don't know what to do. Now what if I choose the wrong thing to do? I'm all burned out. And I don't know what to do. So I need to talk to you
You better sing, Strider.
and ask you for your guidance, especially today when my world seems so cloudy. Guide me until I'm sure I open up my heart. Now, those are probably all the wrong words, but that's what I can remember.
That's all good. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining Atlanta Voices of the Bass. I didn't say that earlier. I was so discombobulated because our other one didn't show up. But yes, we're going to get on out of here. And we thank you again for joining. Again, thank you, Dr. Johni Cruse Craig for joining. Shout out to Maria Flint. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Brownsville. Shout out to the NYC podcast, Voices of the Bass. Shout out to all those good guys up there. And again, much love, peace, blessings, Odabo, Hotep, all that good stuff. Right.
Thank you, Dr. Strider.
Thank
Mari
you so
got
much
it.
for having me. This has been
Y'all
so
go
much
share.
fun. That's right. Like, share, Ginny's P.O.R.C.H Foundation, Beyond the Sunshine Mother's Day Brunch, April 25th, 10 to 1 at Privy. You can hit us up at Beyond the Sunshine on Facebook, A Place for the Heart on Instagram, and get your tickets.
Shout out to Sips and oh gosh, Lisa Jefferson doing her thing up there at the bakery by Stonecrest.
Oh, paint and she is.
Oh, see, she know what it
She
is.
knows
All
her
right.
and she
Yes,
frequents
yes.
that.
All right. She gonna get me about that. She
Yes,
gonna
the
get me
cake.
about that one.
Cake and sip.